Most parents don't struggle because they don't care. They struggle because they care too much and they're tired. Tired of the same argument every night at bedtime. Tired of the same meltdown in the grocery store. Tired of repeating themselves and still feeling ignored. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, a quiet fear shows up. If I don't get strict now, will I raise a child who can't handle the real world? So we tighten our grip. We raise our voice. We take things away. We threaten consequences we're not even sure we believe in. And sometimes it works. The behavior stops. The room gets quiet. But later that night, when the house finally settles, something feels off. Because obedience happened, but understanding didn't. Silence happened, but growth didn't. This is the tension at the heart of discipline. We want our children to behave well today, but we also want them to become wise, resilient, emotionally strong adults tomorrow. No Drama Discipline by Dr. Daniel J. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson enters this exact space, not as another rule book for perfect parenting, but as a new way to understand what's actually happening inside a child's brain when things fall apart. At its core, this book is built on a simple but powerful idea. Children don't misbehave because they are bad. They misbehave because they are overwhelmed, underdeveloped, and still learning how to be human. This changes everything. It changes how we see tantrums. It changes how we respond to defiance. It changes what discipline even means. Over the next chapters, we'll explore 4 big themes that quietly reshape the way we parent. First, discipline is not about control. It's about teaching the brain how to regulate emotion and behavior. Second, connection is not a reward for good behavior. It's the foundation that makes growth possible in the first place. Third, boundaries don't have to come with fear. Structure and warmth can exist together. And finally, change doesn't happen in dramatic breakthroughs. It happens in small, imperfect moments of reconnection, repair, and reflection. This is not a story about becoming a flawless parent. It's a story about becoming a calmer one, a more intentional one, a more human one. So if you've ever wondered why the same discipline strategies keep failing, if you've ever felt like you're stuck between being too strict and too soft, if you've ever wanted a way to guide your child without turning your home into a battleground, then this journey is for you. Let's begin with the first shift that changes everything. Chapter 1. Rethinking Discipline. What are we really trying to teach? Here's a quiet but uncomfortable question most parents never stop to ask. Are we trying to raise well-behaved children or well-developed human beings? On the surface, discipline feels like it's about stopping bad behavior. No hitting, no screaming, no talking back, no throwing toys across the room. And in the heat of the moment, that makes sense. When a child is out of control, the instinct is to regain control as fast as possible. But this chapter invites us to zoom out and see the bigger picture. Because behavior is just the surface. Underneath it is a developing brain that is still learning how to handle frustration, disappointment, boredom, and big emotions it doesn't yet have words for. Most of us were raised with a model of discipline that focused on compliance. You do what you're told. You don't question authority. If you step out of line, there's a consequence. That approach can produce quiet children. It can produce obedient children. But quiet is not the same as calm, and obedience is not the same as self-control. A child can look disciplined on the outside while feeling completely dysregulated on the inside. This is where the authors offer a powerful reframe. Discipline is not something you do to a child, it's something you do for their developing brain. Every moment of discipline is shaping internal skills, how they handle anger, how they recover from mistakes, how they interpret authority, how they talk to themselves when they fail.
If discipline is only about stopping behavior, the lesson the child learns is simple. Don't get caught. Or worse, when I mess up, I lose connection. But if discipline is about teaching, the lesson becomes deeper. Even when I mess up, I can learn, repair, and grow. Think about how adults actually change. We don't change because someone shames us. We change when we feel safe enough to reflect, when someone helps us see another option, when we're supported in practicing a better response next time. Children are no different. They just need more scaffolding because their brains are still under construction. This chapter also gently challenges the myth that kindness and discipline are opposites. Many parents fear that if they're warm, they'll lose authority, but warmth without boundaries creates chaos, and boundaries without warmth create fear. Real discipline lives in the middle. It says, I won't let you hurt yourself or others, and at the same time, I'm here to help you learn how to handle what you're feeling. When parents shift from, how do I stop this behavior, to, what skill is my child missing right now, discipline transforms from a battle into a lesson. A tantrum stops being a problem to crush. It becomes a signal. Something inside this child is too big for them to manage alone. And that realization changes how we show up. Instead of reacting from anger, we respond with intention. Instead of aiming for silence, we aimed for growth. Instead of winning the moment, we invest in the future. Key takeaway: discipline is not about control in the moment. It's about teaching the skills a child will need for a lifetime. In the next chapter, we'll look under the hood of the child's brain itself and see why even the best discipline fails when it ignores how the brain actually works.
Chapter 2: Your Brain on Discipline. Why Kids Lose Control Even When They Know Better. Have you ever thought this about a child in the middle of a meltdown? They know better than this. And technically, you're right. They do know the rule. They do remember what you said 5 minutes ago. So why does all that knowledge disappear the moment emotions spike? This chapter pulls us behind the scenes of a child's brain and shows us something surprisingly comforting. Most misbehavior is not a moral failure. It's a neurological one. A child's brain is still under construction. The emotional centers develop early. The parts responsible for reasoning, impulse control, and long-term thinking develop much later. So you end up with a brain that feels intensely, but can't yet manage those feelings effectively. It's like giving someone a powerful engine before installing the brakes. When a child is calm, the thinking part of the brain is online. They can listen, they can reason, they can cooperate. But when emotions surge, fear, anger, frustration, jealousy, disappointment, that thinking system goes offline. The emotional brain takes the wheel. In that state, logic doesn't land, lectures don't stick, consequences don't teach. This is why trying to reason with a child mid-tantrum feels like talking to a locked door. The door is not closed because the child is stubborn. It's closed because the brain is overwhelmed. Once you see this, discipline changes shape. Instead of asking, why won't you listen? The better question becomes, is your brain even capable of listening right now? This also explains why children can repeat the same mistake again and again, not because they don't care, but because the part of the brain responsible for pausing, reflecting, and choosing differently is still developing. In moments of calm, children can access the rule. In moments of overwhelm, they can't access themselves. This chapter quietly frees parents from a lot of unnecessary guilt and anger. You're not failing because your child doesn't learn lessons. Your child is practicing skills their brain has not fully built yet. And your role as a parent shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a judge handing down consequences. You start seeing yourself as a coach, helping a young nervous system learn how to stay balanced under pressure. This doesn't mean there are no boundaries. It means boundaries are delivered with brain awareness. You still stop harmful behavior, but you don't expect emotional maturity from an immature brain. Think about how you treat someone who is overwhelmed. You lower your voice. You simplify your words. You wait until the storm passes before discussing solutions. Children need the same grace. When discipline aligns with brain development, it stops being a power struggle and starts becoming guidance. You're no longer fighting the child, you're partnering with the child's developing brain. Key takeaway: a child's behavior and emotional moments reflects the limits of their developing brain, not a lack of character. In the next chapter, we move from understanding the brain to learning how connection becomes the bridge that helps children return from emotional chaos to calm. Chapter 3: From Tantrum to Tranquility. Connection is the key. When a child is screaming on the floor, fists clenched, face red, nothing you say seems to land. You might try reason, you might try consequences, you might even try a calm explanation delivered with perfect logic, and none of it works. This chapter explains why. When emotions flood a child's system, they are no longer in a learning state, they are in a survival state. The nervous system is firing, the body is braced for threat, and the thinking part of the brain has stepped out of the room. In that moment, the child does not need a lesson, they need regulation. Here's the counterintuitive truth. Connection is not the reward for good behavior. Connection is the tool that makes better behavior possible. When a parent moves closer instead of farther away, when the voice softens instead of sharpens, when the message becomes, "I'm here with you," instead of, "You're on your own until you calm down," the child's nervous system begins to settle. This doesn't mean approving the behavior, it means acknowledging the feeling underneath it. A child throwing toys might be saying, without words, "I'm overwhelmed, I'm tired, I don't know how to handle this frustration." Connection translates those feelings into safety. Think of how adults calm down. We rarely calm ourselves by being told to calm down. We calm when we feel understood, when someone sits with us in the discomfort instead of trying to fix us immediately. Children need the same emotional companionship. This chapter also dismantles the fear many parents carry. If I connect in the middle of bad behavior, I'm encouraging it. But connection is not permissiveness, it's emotional first aid. You can say, "I won't let you hit," and still say, "I see how angry you are." One sets a boundary, the other builds safety. And safety is what allows the child's brain to come back online. Once the emotional storm settles, learning becomes possible, reflection becomes possible, repair becomes possible. But without connection, discipline often teaches the wrong lesson. When I lose control, I lose relationship. Over time, that lesson trains children to hide emotions instead of learning how to handle them. Connection teaches a different lesson. My emotions can be intense, and I am still safe in relationship. That sense of safety becomes the foundation for emotional resilience. Key takeaway: connection calms the nervous system, and a calm nervous system is the doorway to real learning. In the next chapter, we'll move from this principle into real-life moments and see what no-drama connection actually looks like in action when things are messy, public, and imperfect. Chapter 4: No-Drama Connection in Action. What this looks like in real life. Ideas sound beautiful in theory. They get tested in the grocery store. This chapter takes the concept of connection and brings it into the messy, ordinary moments of real family life. The moments where you're tired, your child is hungry, and patience is already thin. The authors are honest about something important here. No drama discipline doesn't mean zero emotion. It means less chaos, less escalation, and fewer battles that leave everyone drained. No drama connection starts with the parent, not the child. Children borrow calm from adults. They don't manufacture it on their own. If a parent enters a situation already tense, rushed, or emotionally flooded, the child's nervous system picks that up immediately. The room fills with urgency. The child's body tightens. Resistance increases. What could have been a small moment becomes a power struggle. So the first move is internal, a pause, a breath, a softening of tone. Not because the child deserves gentleness in that moment, but because the nervous system learns through modeling. When a parent stays regulated, the child slowly learns what regulation looks like. This chapter also highlights something many parents find relieving. You don't need perfect words. You need a grounded presence. Connection in action can be simple. Kneeling to the child's level, using fewer words instead of more, naming what you see, frustration, sadness, disappointment, holding space for the emotion without trying to rush it away. It also means choosing which battles matter. Not every misstep needs a lecture. Not every defiance needs a showdown. Sometimes the most powerful discipline move is de-escalation. This doesn't mean letting go of limits. It means delivering limits without emotional volatility. For example, stopping harmful behavior calmly communicates safety. Escalating with anger communicates threat. Children learn from both. Over time, these small, connected responses accumulate. They teach children that big emotions are manageable. They teach that relationships don't collapse under stress. They teach that authority doesn't have to be frightening to be real. This chapter quietly shifts discipline from something that happens to the child into something that happens with the child. Not perfect, not polished, but human. Key takeaway: no drama discipline begins with the parent's ability to stay grounded and emotionally present in imperfect moments. In the next chapter, we'll explore how discipline can address what's happening right now while also shaping who a child becomes tomorrow.
Chapter 5: 1, 2, 3 Discipline, Redirecting for Today and for Tomorrow. Most discipline decisions are made under pressure. Something is happening right now. A sibling is being hit. A rule is being ignored. A situation is escalating. In that moment, parents face an invisible dilemma. Do I focus on stopping this behavior, or do I focus on teaching something for the future? This chapter offers a simple but powerful reframe. Effective discipline does both, not either or, both and. The first part of discipline is about the present moment, safety, boundaries, containment. You stop what needs to be stopped. You prevent harm, you reduce chaos. But if discipline ends there, nothing changes long term. The behavior may pause, but the underlying skill gap remains. So the second part of discipline looks forward. It asks, what does my child need to learn so this goes better next time? Maybe the skill is emotional language. Maybe it's waiting. Maybe it's problem solving. Maybe it's tolerating frustration without exploding. Children don't repeat mistakes because they want to be difficult. They repeat mistakes because the alternative skill hasn't fully formed yet. This chapter gently shifts discipline from reaction to intention. Instead of seeing misbehavior as a problem to eliminate, you start seeing it as a signal of where development is still fragile. And this changes how discipline is used. Consequences stop being about making a child pay for what they did. They become about creating conditions for learning. A natural consequence shows cause and effect. A reflective conversation helps build insight. A repaired moment strengthens emotional awareness. The goal is not to create discomfort for its own sake. The goal is to create understanding. When discipline works on both levels, present and future, something powerful happens. Children begin to internalize guidance. They don't just follow rules because someone is watching. They start to develop their own inner brakes. And slowly,
Discipline shifts from something imposed from the outside to something guided from the inside. Key takeaway: good discipline manages the moment and shapes the future by teaching skills, not just stopping behavior. In the next chapter, we'll look at a simple, practical framework that helps parents remember how to respond in the heat of real-life moments when emotions are high and clarity is low.
Chapter 6. Addressing Behavior. REDIRECTE in real life. When emotions are high, clarity drops. Parents often know what they want to do in theory, but in the heat of the moment, theory disappears. What remains is instinct. This chapter offers something practical, a simple mental roadmap for discipline moments. Not a script to memorize, but a structure to lean on when your own nervous system is activated. The heart of this framework is redirection. Not just redirecting behavior, redirecting the whole moment toward learning and regulation. At its core, redirection means guiding a child from a state of emotional overwhelm back towards safety, connection, and growth. The first shift is slowing down. Instead of reacting automatically, the parent pauses. That pause is powerful. It interrupts escalation. Next comes connection. Before correction, there is presence. This doesn't mean agreeing with the behavior. It means acknowledging the internal state behind it. Then come clear limits. Children need to know where the boundary is. Safety and structure are non-negotiable. But the boundary is delivered without threat, without humiliation, without emotional withdrawal. After the moment settles, the learning begins. Reflection. Naming what happened. Exploring what could be done differently next time. Over time, this pattern teaches something subtle but profound. Emotions don't make you bad. Mistakes don't end relationships. Boundaries don't mean rejection. Children begin to associate discipline not with fear, but with guidance. And this is how inner discipline is built. Not through control, but through repeated experiences of being guided back to balance. This chapter also reminds parents of something freeing. You will not get this right every time. You will snap. You will overreact. You will miss opportunities to connect. And none of that erases the overall pattern if repair is present. Consistency is not perfection. Consistency is returning to the path again and again. Key takeaway. Redirection works best when it guides emotions first, behavior second, and learning last. Now that we've walked through the full framework of no-drama discipline, the book closes with a set of hopeful reminders about change, imperfection, and the quiet power of reconnection. Let's bring this journey home. Conclusion. On magic wands, being human, reconnection, and change. Every parent secretly wishes for a magic wand, a way to end tantrums instantly, a sentence that makes children listen the first time, a strategy that works every day, in every mood, in every situation. This book gently takes that wand out of our hands, not to leave us powerless, but to remind us of something more honest and more hopeful. Parenting doesn't change through perfect techniques. It changes through repeated, imperfect moments of connection. One of the most comforting messages in no-drama discipline is that being human is not a flaw in parenting. It is the foundation of it. Parents get overwhelmed. They lose patience. They react emotionally. And none of this disqualifies them from being effective guides. What shapes a child most deeply is not the absence of conflict, but what happens after conflict. Reconnection is where growth lives. When a parent repairs after a harsh moment, when they apologize, when they reflect with the child on what happened, when they show that relationships can bend without breaking. Children learn something profound in these moments. They learn that mistakes are not the end of belonging. They learn that emotions can be repaired. They learn that relationships can hold tension and still remain safe. The deeper message of this book goes beyond discipline. It quietly teaches a philosophy of being human together. That behavior is shaped by nervous systems, not moral labels. That learning happens through safety, not fear. That boundaries and compassion are not enemies, but partners. That authority doesn't need to be loud to be strong. When parents practice no-drama discipline, they are not just shaping behavior, they are shaping how children experience authority, how they relate to power, how they treat themselves when they fail. And this has ripple effects that extend far beyond childhood. Here are a few simple principles to carry forward into real life. First, regulate yourself before trying to regulate your child. Your calm becomes their calm. Second, connect before you correct. A nervous system that's regulated is the gateway to learning. Third, set boundaries with warmth. Safety and structure grow best in emotional safety. Fourth, treat mistakes as teachers, not verdicts. Every misstep is a lesson waiting to be shaped. Finally, prioritize repair over perfection. What heals a child is not flawless parenting, but honest reconnection. In the end, discipline is not about producing well-behaved children. It's about raising humans who can feel deeply, recover wisely, and relate safely. And the quiet question this book leaves us with is this: when your child looks back on how they were disciplined, will they remember fear, or will they remember being guided back to themselves?